Welcome to Built for This, the podcast where purpose meets performance. Hosted by business strategist and human behavior specialist Carly Pepin, this show dives into the real stories behind high-growth businesses. Let's bring life to your vision.
Awesome, guys. So welcome back today. I'm really excited for today. I've been on Jackson's podcast a couple times. He's got a great podcast, which we'll talk about, so you can check it out. But we've had a lot of fun going back and forth on all things business. So today I get to interview him. So this is Jackson Calame, and he helps visionary entrepreneurs unlock sustainable revenue growth and build lasting legacies by becoming a power brand in their market. With deep experience launching and scaling B2B and SaaS startups serving thousands of SMBs. Jackson has seen firsthand why most businesses fail: poorly managed growth built on weak foundations. Jackson and his teams guide business owners and executives through critical growth transitions, often stepping in as strategic partners, fulfilling COO, CMO, or CEO functions. Their approach focuses on leadership evolution, strong culture, operational clarity, and customer-centric vision. True growth requires personal development, accountability, and sometimes difficult organizational changes. Jackson prepares leaders to make those decisions with confidence and precision. For businesses ready to evolve, scale, and intentionally lead their market, Jackson and his team provide the strategic support needed to win. So welcome, Jackson.
Thank you, Carly. I'm so excited to be here. You're one of my favorite guests. We've had over 2,000 on Vision Pros Live. And so those of you listening in, I've had Carly on my show 3 times, and I'm looking forward to the 4th.
I'm excited. I had a blast on your podcast. I had so much fun. I feel like we'd had great rapport, and probably we'd have a lot of fun hanging out too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, let's dive in. I would love for you to share more details about your company. I think what's interesting about your company, what you do, what we do sounds similar, but it's actually very different. You would be more of what I would consider a strategic partner for the things that I don't do. So share with the audience, what exactly you guys get into day to day when you're working with your customers.
Huge. And I can't wait. Someday we're going to have a hybrid client. We're going to be able to work together on
We will.
something. I am looking forward to that day. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of word salad in my bio, if you will, my friends. I had said something about how I bring this to the table to the entrepreneurs I work with. The 14 years of experience helping ultimately as an integrator, right? Helping visionaries build what they were up to meant that I really got to watch a lot of people make a lot of very big mistakes, and great leaders who are far better leaders than me and take notes and say, "Oh, I don't want my business to go that route. I don't want this challenge. I want to be able to overcome this." So I got to learn from Jake Larson at videopower.com as his right-hand man. He's known as the YouTube ad expert of the world. And we ran campaigns for Michael Hyatt and T. Harv Eckert and Lewis Howes and John Lee Dumas of Entrepreneur Fire and Dan Martell of SaaS Academy. And so each one of these individuals became a mentor, as we also got to pull these funnels together to create advertising campaigns and scale. And I had some SaaS background stuff that did really well. We were invested in by Paul Buchheit, the inventor of Gmail, and Matt Cutts, the search director of Google, as Y Combinator, and Restaurant Connect raised money with the Baylor Angel Network. And each one of those experiences gave me a look behind the scenes of just how hard entrepreneurship really is. And we really follow one principle, and that's we do what's best for the person that we're serving. And so if somebody comes into our office, I act kind of like a doctor, and I ask far too many questions about what's going on. I ask you to do things that are uncomfortable. And if you're willing and able to work with me, and I can see that the relationship is what we call transformational, in that case, yeah, we can build something at scale. We can do some cool things. But if you've got weaknesses and threats that are going to disrupt your business and hurt you, I'm the uncomfortably awkward guy who will bring it up.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Which
Yeah.
I think that's part of it as well, is that, when we are running our businesses, it's very hard sometimes to see those bottlenecks, and so hard. And it's like you said, there's amazing leaders out there and they have some major gaps, but it's not because they're bad leaders, it's just because they're actually focused on leadership. And so when we come in and we actually take that deep dive and we look at it from the outside, we're really able to find hey, this is going on. Have you noticed this? Of course you're having an issue here.
Yep. Absolutely. And I've got 7 of those. I've got 7 team members, and hopefully each one of them, I've got 3 that are really bold and will tell me the things that I need to hear. And I'm so grateful for it, because I can't see my blind spots. That's why they're called a blind spot. And if I'm not willing to ask about my blind spots, if I'm not willing to look at it, if I'm too scared, too insecure to do that, then my business is going to fail and flop. And so I need those people around me. And, I hope again that the people who are listening, that you lean into leaders like Carly and find out, Carly, you helped me on my podcast. I was like, oh, sweet. Awesome. That's another great idea. I was
Oh,
just
I
seeing,
forgot about
asking
that.
question after question, really being vulnerable and like, okay, we specifically, we talked about the value of KPIs. And
Mhm.
I remember asking you, like, how do you measure KPIs if it's kind of premature to look at the metrics? And you talked about measuring the core values and making sure that you don't have to make it about the numbers. And it was so revealing. It was so refreshing and so helpful to think through that. I was like, man, I should have known this. Like I should have known the value of oxygen. But that's why it's so imperative to work with great leaders who are able to articulate the fundamentals that oftentimes we overlook. So you're a rock star.
Yeah, so are you. I appreciate that. I actually totally forgot we got into that on the call. That was really fun. Yeah. That was really fun. So tell me a little bit, like when you started to scale your business, right? When did you first realize it was time to take on additional individuals?
Oh, day one. This business, I've had a past agency that has finally hit the graveyard after 10 years. We made it to 10-year mark, but it's this business. I already knew. I was like, I'm so tired of failing as a solopreneur.
Mhm.
And I saw Jake Larson and Michael High, all these guys, they had a word for the solopreneurs. It was entrepreneur. Because they never make it. And sure, there might be some unicorn who's done it, but I'm telling you, if you guys think that you've met a solopreneur, odds are they've got a bunch of virtual assistants they've fired. Odds are they have a bunch of mentors who help them get to where they are, and they're overlooking it, and they're ungrateful and not really paying attention to it. And odds are they're still struggling to keep it going, even though they're smiling and they're happy. They're telling you how
Mhm.
great they are, and it's no. Solopreneurship is I don't know. I was never able to succeed at it. So now I started first class business with Dr. Todd Snyder, who's a world class therapist. And he went to the Baylor um, University's doctorate program, graduated in half the time as others. He's absolutely incredible. He's a peak performance coach, and it was his third business model. And so he's now a silent partner in what we do. But we've always had a team of at least 3 to 4 people with the ambition and with the immediate desire to scale, to have great people by our side to help us build, because we knew that if we want to create something truly sustainable long term, then we need other great minds. And I'm a big believer in the book I've never read, Who Not How.
Oh,
I'm a
wait,
big believer
hold
in the
on one
concept.
second. I think I just lost your sound.
Oh,
Hold
did
on.
you?
Let's see if we
We'll
can
see.
fix it real quick. Pardon us for the tech
Mic check.
issue. Here, hold on. Okay, we're totally back. I lost the sound for just a second. We had a little bit of a tech issue, but okay, continue.
Well, we're talking to me, team is essential. Like I've got to build a team to me. I would never, never, ever venture to believe the marketing bros or the boss babes. Marketing bros got dad's credit card, probably boss babes have husband credit card or dad's credit card. Like you gotta be careful with this stuff because we're talking about people's livelihoods, and I don't want people to fail. And I went through the years of solopreneurship, realizing how painful it was, how much debt you go into, how you're trying to delegate, but like you're trying to learn everything before you can delegate. It's just so painful. Don't do it to yourselves. Please don't do it to yourselves. And I've never read the book Who Not How, but I've lived it.
Ooh.
Who Not How. I don't need to know how to do everything. If I find people who have great integrity and I can help them understand the value of my vision, and I can create a culture where they want to belong, I can find leaders who will want to help me build what it is I'm up to. It is so important to find leaders from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, I think what's amazing when you talk about this too is that, even when I talk to you, like I just spoke to a business, and they're at 10 million a year, right? And they're a big company and they've got like 30, 40 employees or something. And what was interesting is they were still struggling with the delegation dynamic, and they still didn't have enough employees on the floor to be able to give the leaders the leeway that was necessary for them to be able to actually scale the company. And so it's funny, it's almost like as we grow in our businesses, even in larger businesses, it's like these leaders are sometimes acting like solopreneurs sometimes to a certain
Yes.
degree. And it's it's like you said, like without the team, it's like you just get bogged down in all this muck. And it's funny because when we were going over some of the challenges that they were experiencing, it was all the people problem. They did not have the staff to be able to get things done. And then simultaneously, they were struggling to hire the staff because they couldn't put in standard operating procedures because it was all on them. And I was like,
Yeah.
we got to get you some people. Like, this is the top priority.
We're building right now, we're building the solution for this. And we call it the light switch for entrepreneurship. We are really, really close to launching this system, Carly, and it's often called muck, and it's often, overlooked because nobody's talking about this framework, the 6 avatars that exist in business. Nobody's talking about it. I'd never seen it taught before. And as I uncovered what the 6 avatars were and what was needed to create it, it became so easy to see why businesses all over the planet are failing because they don't have the infrastructure to support the 6 basic individuals they have to interact with on a weekly basis. So if we want to, I can go into that, and I'm happy to give it out to the world. And if somebody wants to beat me to build this, like, fantastic, because we got billions of people to help. We need this.
That's awesome. And even that dynamic of finding the 6 avatars, like, where did you pull that from? Like, how did that come? Did you start to do like customer surveys, customer reviews? Like, tell us a little bit more about like the uncover process, business side.
I'm so excited to play
Mhm.
with you on this. Are you ready to play with me? Because we're going to do this together.
Okay.
And it came from years of excruciating pain. That's all it came
Mhm.
from. Was realizing like, oh my gosh, there's so many things. But let's go ahead and do it. And so we're going to do this live. Guys, Carly's one of the sharpest people in business. And Carly, if you end up finding like, oh, Jackson, I have seen this in another resource, by all means, give me the resource. Give us all the resource, because I've never met somebody who defined the 6 avatars correctly and then who didn't afterwards be like, oh my gosh, why is this not talked about? So if I'm wrong, by all means, like, haymaker right in the face on this. Cool.
Okay.
Are we in agreement on that? Okay.
We're in
So
agreement.
let's say that we own a hotel. Let's call it a hotel. And
Okay.
in this hotel, somebody walks in the door, right? Somebody walks into our hotel. We've already opened, soft opening style. What avatar could possibly have walked? I'm not going to give any leading hints on this either. It's okay if you say like a clown or whatever, but what avatar walks in the door? Who might that person be categorized as?
My customer.
Very good. Okay,
Mhm.
so you've got customer. Customer is what we call an evolution of one of the 6 avatars that exists. So
Mhm.
what does a customer evolve from?
Initially, I'm trying to reach out to them. They're basically just like a potential lead, potential
Good.
opportunity. They're my
There you
niche.
go.
Mhm.
Lead or prospect, right? So
Yeah.
that's the initial word. So that is avatar. We call avatar number 2, is a prospect who evolves like a Pokemon, right? As it scale into a client or a customer or a patient. So that's the one avatar that most businesses never fail to forget, right?
Yeah.
We've got to have clients, we've got to have customers, or we've got to have prospects. What is sad is how few people actually build systems for the customers. They usually build systems for the prospects. We need lead gen, so we need funnels, we need campaigns for it, we need landing page. Oh crap, we got a client now. How are we going to fulfill for the client? Oh, I guess, oh wait, we need another landing page for that. Oh, we need more emails for that. We need more workflows. There's all sorts of things that have to be built. So anyway, that's one evolved version of an avatar. The door opens again. Another person walks into our hotel. Carly, who might the next avatar be?
If it's not my customer, maybe
Yep.
someone's applying for a job.
Very good. So that would be a candidate, right? So now a
Yeah.
candidate's coming to the door. Very few people I've done this with have thought through like, I don't know. I don't know that one. And then nobody has named that particular candidate. Candidate evolves into a team member, right? So
Yeah.
that candidate, if you walk up to that candidate, you're like, hey, well, welcome. We're so glad you're a customer. What's the No, but most candidates walk in, and what does the business owner do or the staff do? Go online and apply. And what happens? Your greatest candidates are like, why would I want to work here if that's the way that I'm
Yeah.
treated? They need an asset. They need an application. Like you said, they need to apply. So we need to have those assets. If we don't have those organized, guess what? Our team's going to botch the experience, and we're going to get stuck working with the bottom of the rung people who are desperate for jobs, not people who are super well prepared to work with companies that are also super well prepared. The door opens again, though. We got a hotel. People want to come into this place. Who's the next avatar that might come in, Carly? That's 2 of them.
Okay, so who's the next one? I've got my clients, I've got my customers. I mean, I could also get an investor. I don't know.
Fantastic. We call it the sixth avatar.
Okay.
So very good. Most people don't think as big as you do. You think huge. Yeah, you know how to prepare for this stuff. But so many entrepreneurs would say like, well, we don't want investors. We're not ready to talk to investors. Well, the problem is if you ignore that for too long, you're going to get yourself in a position where you're not ready for it. And Carly knows all about that reality.
You want to be ready. Yeah. All the time.
Typically, the true investors, they're typically not the ones who come in acting like an investor. They usually come in and they become a client first, right? Because they want to try and see, is this experience something that they believe in? But once it becomes time they want to talk about that, they need to know what your exit plan is. They need to know what your executive summary is. They need to know that you have a P&L, that you have the ability to forecast, that you built a pro forma, etc. There's all sorts of opportunities there. But the door opens again. Somebody else walks in. Who might walk in this time?
I don't know. I feel like because I want to own the hotel, I want to walk in and make sure everyone's doing a good job. Am I ever an avatar?
So you as part of the team, right? So you work at one point.
I want to check it out.
Absolutely. Yeah. So part of the process. Door opens again. Who else walks in?
Door opens again. Who else walks in? So I have my investor.
I'll start to give examples on this because you crushed this. You crushed through the list. And the neat thing is, my friends, as you guys make this top of mind, as you guys have the list, you can start working with AI. You can work with Carly. You can work with whoever you want to realize, whoa, we better create materials for this, because if we don't have materials, then what happens? Piss poor planning. We end up with really bad implementation for these figures. So the door opens, Carly, they come in and they say, hey, I'm just curious, did you guys already get your POS system set up? My name's John. And I'm a merchant service provider. What avatar is that?
They're my vendors. Yeah.
Very good. And most business owners treat them like snake oil sales reps and say, get out of here. I already have a POS system. What are you doing wasting my time? And what happens is they forget that John lives 2 blocks down the road. And he has friends and family in the area, and he's going to tell them, like, don't go there. But the restaurants may look nice, but they don't even know how to treat people. And you end up blowing up a relationship that could have been awesome had you been prepared with a preferred vendors program for that individual. So vendors have the opportunity to become strategic partners. The door opened once more time, and Jackson walks in and says, hey, I love the hotel. I work for the San Antonio Express News. I was thinking about doing a piece on what you guys are up to. Who would I talk to about it?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that avatar?
We have
PR and media.
Marketing. Yep.
Very good. So we've named 5 of the avatars. And again, you go into most establishments, and most establishments feel like they have to pay for PR media, that they're not getting enough attention. It's not fair. Well, guess what? If you don't have a branding guide, if you don't have a media kit, if your team's not prepared to handle basic questions for PR and media professionals, you're not going to build a relationship with those individuals either. And so it's so hard to know as a business owner that we need all this. There's a 6th avatar. We call it the mystery avatar. And the reason why that exists is because, well, they're in the physical world, they're walking through the door and we don't know who they are when they first walk through that door. And so we have to be prepared to provide any one of those 5 assets to those individuals. In the digital world, we have that through our calendars. If somebody books a random appointment with me, until I have the opportunity to talk to that person, if I'm opening my calendar up for any type of business, I don't know if they're going to be a vendor, if they're going to be a candidate, if they're going to be a PR media professional, if they're going to be an investor, if they're going to be a prospect. I don't know what their motive is. And so preparing those pathways, if we want to look at it, there's let me see here. In fact, I can't share my screen on this, but I will walk through every single one of those according to Dan Martell. We need procedures, we need resources, and we need templates. Yeah. Those have to be documented and created. And then we also need pipelines. We need opportunities in those pipelines, workflows, landing pages, and emails. And not just one email. You can't just send one. Every single one of those needs an email path. And if you take all of that and you apply what Michael Gerber teaches in the E-Myth, we need to learn to delegate by training well. Yeah. How can we possibly train well if we don't have procedures, resource templates, pipelines, opportunities, workflows, landing pages, and emails for all 6 of those avatars? And if we don't understand the emotional intelligence of how pipelines actually work. So we're unpacking the surface. I'll finish on this. There are 5 core pipelines for every single one of those avatars, because nobody wants to get married on day 1. Nobody, not a healthy boundary person. A healthy boundary, the best leads, they're going to pay the most money, they're going to be the most loyal. They're going to want to go on a journey of free goodwill in the beginning, then dedicating some time and possibly some monetary commitment, and what we call the ascension pipeline. So leadership pipeline to ascension pipeline. Then we move into what we call the conversion pipeline, where a core offer gets suggested or invited or presented. Then we move into what we call the loyalty pipeline, where people want to become part of the loyalty program or the rewards program. And then after that, we call it the royalty pipeline, the top level where we're going for high ticket or maximum opportunity with these relationships. That's over 11,000 variables to build out for a business to be able to serve those 5 people really, really well. We've got to build it. We're at a 96% failure rate as a country for business owners within 10 years, over a 100-year track record. It's time to fix it.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. If you're really resonating with what we're talking about and want to get clear on what truly drives you, what your core values are, head on over to my website. In the tools and tips section, there is a free values assessment. And this is a quick exercise that's going to help you to uncover what actually matters most with you so you can lead and live with more clarity, fulfillment, and momentum. Yeah. Oh, it's very cool. It's so true though, too, because I mean, what you're saying is at the core of all this, we have our standard operating procedures, right? And it's funny because there's sometimes so much, I don't know how, do you see the resistance I see? There's so much resistance to sometimes creating this. That's where a lot of like the personal development dynamic, like the coaching comes in, is helping people to see the benefits and how to like manage it and make it easier for them to create. Because it is a realistic thing, is that if you don't have this, it's like, how are you going to welcome a new team member on? Who's going to train them? Who's going to help them? How are they going to know what they're going to be able to do? How do they know what they're meant to do? These are the procedures that are in place that make it easy for them to do their job. And then they get to spend the rest of the time kind of using that lovely genius of theirs to expand the thought process, expand their mind. Speaking of hotels, I mean, I love like the Ritz-Carlton dynamic because they have so many standard operating procedures, and then they give their individuals like the budget. Everyone gets like a $2,000 budget to help a customer just in case. And so instead of having them, yeah, it's great. Instead of having them focus on like all the crap and how to do things and what do I do in this situation, they have a really great story where someone basically left their computer. They needed it for a really important meeting. It wasn't going to get there fast enough just in case with shipping. And the person used their $2,000 budget and they got on a plane and took a flight and dropped it off personally and then came back. And that's what they did. And you're like, that's amazing service. But how do they come up with those ideas? They come up with those ideas because they have time, because we don't just delegate to people, we delegate to systems.
And they're not scared of
Yeah.
teams. And so I think a lot of people who listen to podcasts have a smaller mentality in terms of like, well, I'm not the Ritz-Carlton. I can't do that. And you can get overwhelmed and you can complain about life, or you can get busy building what you need to build. I don't like that word because busy's broke, but you can get productive and you can
Yeah.
create profitability by working with great minds and realizing it can't be all on your shoulders. And if everything's on your shoulders right now, or you've got a couple team members that are trying to do far too much, back to the E-Myth, you're going to burn out and you're going to burn those people out and it's going to leave you in a mess. So it's far better to realize that, wait a second, I don't have to be scared of building relationships with people and scared to talk about finances with good, healthy people, but I need to be willing to call people like Carly or Jackson, engage them in a conversation and say, hey, look, this is all over my head, but I'm really good at doing X, Y, or Z. Can you help me build the rest?
Yeah.
Right. That's the goal. I told Jake Larson at Video Power, I told the team, he had 2 interns and he was already crushing. He was one of the few closest to solopreneurs I've ever seen. And I told the team, I said, guys, there's 3 things Jake needs to be doing.
Yeah.
1, he needs to be golfing as much as possible with other executives. That's where he wins his deals. 2, he needs to be speaking on as many podcasts and platforms as possible. And 3, he needs to be playing the jazz piano at events where he gets to speak. If he does those 3 things, we'll be able to scale this company. But if he's stuck doing the rest of what we need to do to build this operation out, we're going to fail as a company.
Yeah.
And we 3x'd in 18 months. And so it's so important, entrepreneurs, to bring in people that you can trust to lead the way and not close your mind and stop saying, well, I've tried this before. I've hired 3 people. Look, I'm twice divorced. And if I go out on a date again and I say, hey, I've already been divorced twice, I think you're going to be the problem. Like, is that person going to want to hang out with me and be, no, like I'm so lost. So as entrepreneurs, stop being a burn victim. We have to stop doing it.
Well, and I think this is a cool dynamic too, because it's like it's not putting it all in place at once. You're right. They're not the Ritz Carlton, and that's fine. But it's like, what's the most important thing to put in place first, and then doing it in a realistic time frame. I think that's the other thing that people expect, like, oh, this should happen overnight. And if I have to put this much work into it, is it worth it? Right? There's a client I worked with, super cool dude. When he came to me, the company was at like 8 mil, right? So they're doing well. But the first thing that we did was we just focused on strategy and vision, right? And then figuring out what the strategy and vision looked like and implementing that in the company. That took like 6 to 8 months. And then after that, yeah, it takes forever. It takes a long time. But he really got clear and he's still working on it today. But after that, it's like, okay, well, where's the bottleneck? The hiring process. He refined that hiring process for a year. He still refines it today, but he's loving the people he's getting. He's getting the
Mhm.
best employees. They're training
Yes.
him really well. He's super stoked. He put in over a year of work and he still refines it on a regular basis. We're still doing refinement, but now we're also working on like more operation stuff. And so it's not that like you can't do it. It's just you focus on like the most important one, like one step at a time, just one step at a time, and you really refine it. And I remember talking to this guy. He's great. He's gonna be on the podcast. He's super fun. The company who hired him, brilliant in my perception, because the first year they hired him at the VP of marketing, they didn't even make him do a lot. They just let him refine the
So smart.
marketing tactic. For a full year, he just went in and reframed marketing within the company. And now they're going to launch. And so instead of rushing him and being like, we have to launch, we have to go, we have to go, they've refined it to such a degree that like they're just certain that their strategy is going to work. And so I think this is like the lesson. It's like all this is doable, but it just takes time. Focus on
It
the most
does.
important thing first.
Well, and that's really the neat thing about what we're building. And I'm sorry to those of you listening who are like, I want it now. Well, come
Yeah.
invest in, like, help me build it because what we're the nice thing is go high level, right? That's our CRM of choice, gives us the ability to build all of this out as templates.
Yeah.
And that then allows us to give it all at once to an entrepreneur so that the systems are all ready to go. It's going to change the world when we launch this. It is going to give the people the opportunity to finally have all of that built. It'll take us between 4 hours and 16 hours to do the onboarding once it's done.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that, like you said, has always taken 6 months to 12 months, multiple team members to be able to build out, divisions talking to each other and collaborating. But that's the beauty of this. When the system is finally fully built out, then we can focus all of our time and energy on training the people how to use the great system. And that's why Lifetime Fitness, when I worked there, was so capable of scaling and doing things. That's why Ritz Carlton is so capable of scaling because they put in all of the years and hard work of building the systems, hiring the expensive mentors, making sure they masterminded with the best of the best. They put so much sacrifice into the beginning of understanding how to build those processes out. And it's another reason why Mark Zuckerberg's able to pump out billion-dollar company after billion-dollar company after billion-dollar. The rich are going to get richer,
Mhm.
and that's okay. If we want to follow in their footsteps, then we've got to start doing things the way that they do things, not the way that your average Joe talks about on stage. And they've got no track record. You don't do your research on references and case studies, and it's like, well, what do you expect? So we
Yeah.
have to be wiser as builders, as
Well,
leaders.
I love to like I love the franchise models too. Like I love franchise models because franchise models, it's like a stamp. And every time I stamp it, it looks almost the same. And I don't
Yes.
have to, I could own the company and I don't have to be there. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to talk to you. I probably will because I like culture and I'm going to do all that dynamic. But I actually don't have to because everything is so organized for success that you literally can just replicate, duplicate things. And it's like you were talking about in the beginning, the best time to prepare for an investor is today. And this one I think is so important because I just hear it all the time where these companies, like, they come to the end of their life cycle. They thought the kids were going to take over. The kids didn't take over. There's no succession plan. They didn't look at the back end of it. It's not prepared. If you prepare it for an investor, you've prepared it for sale. That's it. And then you actually can make something off of literally a lifetime of work. The quantity of businesses that I see liquidating and going out of business and just selling off stock when they had enough to be able to sell it for like a beautiful profit, have their own legacy in a different way. Like I just want people to do this also because of the opportunities that come later. You could sell it. Like you could do whatever you want with it. You could take on a new partner. You could delegate and still oversee it. Like it's up to you. But if you're not preparing, like you said, it's like in the beginning to have investors invest in your company, you're not preparing to have a company worth investing in. You're just not.
It's so neat, Carly, to hear you talk through all of those options. That's a huge homage, I guess you could say, like to how much you've studied. Like that shows like you've done the due diligence, you've read the books, you've come to understand what your options are. It's hard to come up with ideas or questions if we haven't spent enough time understanding the processes and the game itself. And so you've unpacked that, and your audience is so blessed to be able to learn from you and hear how you go through these dynamics and what questions you ask people and what observations you make. Because again, we've got a track record of 100 years of people who have failed miserably at trying to build their legacies with their businesses. And that's not I'm not hitting them in the face as much as I'm saying like, dang, what if we had a school where our kids were doing that poorly in the school? We would do something about it. We would fix it
Yeah.
for the sake of those children and future generations. We need to do the same thing for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I think like the thing that people don't talk about, which I love, business is so important. Like I love business so much. To me, business is like an opportunity for a philanthropic goal. And like everyone on this planet has different things that are really important to them. I don't care what it is. It could be technology, like maybe the computers. Maybe you really want to work on AI and all the AI assistants and all the amazing things AI can do, right? Maybe you're a hotel. Maybe you're really into beauty. Maybe you're really into fashion. Someone out there, many people thrive off of all the things life has to offer. And it's like you get to own a business and give people what they want and get paid to do it. Like,
Mm.
what a cool opportunity. Like, you're really fulfilling people's lives. And sometimes it's funny because sometimes I hear people say, well, we have a really boring business. This one company, they're like, we're not sexy at all. They were having a hard time with their mission statement. And I was working with a colleague with them, and they're like, we're not sexy at all. And I was like, excuse me?
That
They
gets me
build,
excited.
I was like, excuse me, you guys build structures for like Walmart style buildings. Millions of
Oh man.
people walk through the doors of the structures that you create. How is that not
Right.
like the sexiest thing ever?
Oh
And I
my
think
goodness.
people forget, like, yeah, you make money, yeah, you have a business, but what do you do? Like, what impact do you make? What's on the receiving end? And like, then you realize this is so important to exist. And then it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's put more work into it. Let's put more energy. Let's put more effort. I want it to survive and thrive and have a legacy because like it's that
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Huge. So we actually built an unsexy AI.
I
I'm
love
kidding.
it. Yes.
We'll try to coin it. No, it's actually sexy, but
Yeah.
I made it as honest and as forthright as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And to remind people that it is a junior strategist. It is not a senior strategist. So if you go to firstclassbusiness.io right now, and the only message we have on our website now is, hey, finally business the way you want it. Tell us what you want. We deliver the best pricing and premium service fast. But it says you need Alfred, just say hi. And Alfred GPT is designed to behave like Alfred from Batman.
That's
And
awesome.
his role is not to solve all your problems, but to give you certain ideas and to say, hey, by the way, you should really talk to a senior strategist about this. I
Yeah.
only know so much. Right. And the point, and also supposed to it's supposed to send you to our competitors as well. It's supposed to help you expand your horizons around what's possible for business. And really, the goal of that was to create a transparent, safe space for business owners to be able to explore what the heck we do without any pressure from a human being, and somebody who might sell. But we literally tried to put as many cushions as we could into it and parallel, like to say, hey, stop trying to solve the problems for the world and telling the world that, oh, yeah, just run in this direction, you'll be just fine. Like, AI does not understand the consequences of what that can do to your life. But if we can train those types of systems to help us think a little bit more pragmatically and to also go get help from a real human being,
Yeah.
then those systems can help us a lot. So yeah, that's our unsexy system, if you will. I would love y'all's feedback on it too. I'd love to see it. If it says something, like, tell me so I can fix it. But the goal is to empower entrepreneurs to start exploring with more depth what's possible, because we live in such a get rich quick world.
Yeah.
I myself fall victim of it. And
Yeah.
I think that we oftentimes are like, oh, well, I am humble, or no, I am ethical. But I think the real question for us to ask ourselves as leaders, if we want to scale and scale responsibly, is where am I falling short with my ethics? Where am I falling short with my sales processes? Where can I improve upon my leadership? And if we're just trying to be all or nothing, I think we end up selling ourselves short. But if we look at how can we continue to refine and adjust, that's only going to lead to our lives improving.
Hey everyone, it's Carly. So, if this conversation is really hitting home and you want to get a real snapshot of what's working and what's not in your business, head on over to my website in the tools and tips section and you can have the business performance health check. In just about 15 minutes, you're going to see where the friction is and where your next growth opportunity lies within your company. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I totally agree too, because this is like where the mindset component comes in with leadership, right? Where it's also being humble enough to know that we're making those mistakes, to know that we're having those issues. It's like you said, like you love the employees that work with you that actually give you the quality feedback that say, hey, like this isn't working. Like we have to fix something, we
Yes.
have to change something.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
it's the best. It's the
I
best.
almost lost them too.
Mhm.
Right. That's one of the things to recognize. It's like I didn't want to get to a point where I almost lost them, but I had some really big blind spots that I couldn't
Mhm.
see. And we have a particular leader who came in and really started to hit me hard with Jackson. This is what this is like. And at first, I was kind of like, I wasn't rude, but I was dismissive.
Yeah.
Right. I wasn't opposed to learning, but I was struggling to learn in the way that I needed to be able to grow. And it's hard to explain that. It's really hard to articulate all the little changes I had to make, but they were patient enough and I was open enough to say, like, look, I am trying to get it. Like help me understand. And eventually I realized I'm not very delicate as a leader. I steamroll people because I get excited. And then I use that excitement to justify the steamroll rather than slowing it down. Like there's so many different pieces. And they said, look, your company is pretty much half baked, man.
Mhm.
Like it's not clear. The further you go into it, and I could justify and sell my way into why it was clear for certain people, but eventually I stopped doing that. Realized, you know what? I'm going to accept fully that this person sees it as garbage, and they don't want it to stay garbage. They want to fix it. And
Mhm.
then we gave them the reins to lead the way on it, and it was amazing how much clarity they drew. And I was like, okay, from now on, she's making decisions.
Mhm.
Like you go through her and I'll go. And if she wants to go through me, then I'll jump in. But it is amazing what happens when you get the people around you who are able to help you see past your blind spots without hurting you.
Mhm.
And they're there to help support and create clarity. And again, I would never venture into entrepreneurship again without a team. I've got
Mhm.
to have a great team by my side.
Yeah. Well, I love this too because it's even that dynamic of when they come to you, when they give you that feedback, instead of just like the shutdown, it's like, okay, you get the feedback, it's humbling, you're probably a little jarred, but simultaneously, it's like you give them the lead. And that just action right there, it's like it creates that culture of it's safe to talk to me about these things and it's safe to get creative and come up with ideas and help fix the problem, you know? And so sometimes people are like, well, my team doesn't do that. And at the end of it, the day, it's like, well, what do you look like on the back end? If someone comes to you with those issues, with those challenges, like what are you doing with that conversation? Are you frustrated? Are you listening? Are you putting them down? Like, what does that dynamic look like? I have a customer too. He's fun with it. He is fun with it. Sometimes people are wrong. But what he does is, depending on how bad it'll be, he lets them get in some trouble. And what he'll do is he'll be like, "Okay, cool. Like, I'll give you some advice on this, but if you really want to move forward with it, go for it." And as long as it's like not going to be a huge issue for the company, he actually lets them fail a little bit. And he's like, "Okay, so you see where I was
Huge.
saying this?" And then he's like,
So
"How
important.
would you solve the problem now?" And it's like, and he doesn't get mad at them. He doesn't get frustrated. It's not to prove a point. It's to help them have the experience of failure, leadership, overcoming it because he knows it was so important for him to have that experience and not be micromanaged all the time, to be able to step in, to be able to fail. And he wouldn't be within the company where he is today without the leaders letting him fail and solve the problems. And so he lets other people do it too. And like, if you're not letting him do it, they don't know that they can come up with problems or solutions to the problems. They don't know that that's okay. They're probably going to be scared to connect and talk to you, and they're going to be scared they're going to get in trouble. So this is a cultural dynamic that's like, if you want those employees, if you want those A players that really go in and figure things out, like, you need to create the environment for them. You create that culture.
I love that. As soon as you said my team doesn't do that, like I would bet most people listening, your team doesn't do that. And you can defend yourself, but again, look at where can I improve upon this? That's
Yeah.
the key. So Dr. Seth Yates, I work with a lot of doctors. I'm a very tenacious person. I like to study. I get things done. So do doctors. And so we mesh really well. And Dr. Seth Yates, after 4 months of working with me, is like, Jackson, where the heck do you find such amazing virtual assistants? Because most of the people who work with us are virtual assistants. And I said, that's a great question, Seth. I said, number one, I find amazing people. I was like, that's key. Love, patience, persistence, consistency, reliability. I look at virtues. I don't look at resumes. It's part of the process of measuring consistency and reliability, but that's not the element. We're looking for the virtue behind it. And I
Yeah.
said, so I find amazing people, but I've never found an amazing virtual assistant ever. The reason why my virtual assistants are amazing is because I spend 3 to 5 hours per day training them.
Yeah.
I work with them. They are part of my family pretty much. Like, they are the people that I spend my day with, and we learn about leadership. Every single person reads The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni when their first few weeks of working with us. We've got a leadership academy that's so important for them to go through. If I don't train them how to become great executives, I
Mhm.
can guarantee you they've never worked at a company where a great executive leadership was taught. I would say 99% of the time, people have never been in an environment where they know what it means to be part of a championship level culture. And so we spend an incredible amount of time investing in making sure these people understand. What do we have? We have people who've never had a real job before, who come in within 6 weeks or executive level behavior. We have people who was an architect, and a singer, and we knew how to say, well, wait a second, you've got talents and virtues and values, and they were terrified to work on projects related to web dev or design or systems. Again, now they're executive leaders in the process. We've got people who came straight out of college, in Colombia, who don't speak English at all. Andres. He is our main video producer for our company, our main strategist for video. He's a web developer now. He's able to do so much, and he's being groomed and taught how to be a leader of teams, right? And I want to know, what does Andres want to do with his future? How much is it he's hoping to make? Does he want to live in Colombia first? Does he want to live somewhere else? What type of salary does he aspire to have, right? I take extreme interest in the people, and that people take extreme interest in our clients and in the well-being and the vision of what we're building. So those are also really important parts. It's not about the team knowing how to do it. As you pointed out, Carly, it's our opportunity as leaders to figure out, how do we take so much interest in these people that we move out of the typical VA relationship? And what do I call it? Virtual abuse. We
Yeah.
don't contribute to virtual abuse. We actually care deeply about the people who work with us, and they turn around and care deeply about our vision.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny because the first virtual assistant I hired way back when, I failed miserably. I
I
had
did
to
too.
let her go, and it wasn't her fault, by the way. And I looked back and I was like, what did I do wrong? Because I am certain I'm a human behavior specialist. I interviewed this girl. I was like, I am certain she is capable. I am certain I could have like had her in the company. I was like, forever. I wanted to hire her because she was like a forever person. And I was like, what did I do? And I looked, and my standard operating procedures weren't on par. I didn't have enough accountability. I wasn't doing enough like of the weekly check-ins. I wasn't doing all the stuff that, like, it's like,
Oh my
now it's
gosh.
like, just trust me, like, just do this. I had the A player, and I had to let her go because I trained her into sucking because I sucked at it. And it's funny because it's like you said, it's like we have to just like look at this, not just when someone leaves or you let someone go. It's like, okay, well, where did they mess up? And why did they mess up that way? And the funny thing
So
is
smart.
like
See, you
every
you
time I
learn
look,
fast though. Carly,
I was like,
you're the rock
she
star.
was so good though. I was like, she was so good. What happened? And I just kept
Carly,
going
it took
back
me
and
five
it's
times.
me.
I did it 5 times before I realized that it was my fault.
Oh my
I did
God.
it
It
five
was that
times, and I'm looking,
first
and
time.
I remember the quote. When
Yeah.
I'm pointing my finger at somebody else, there's 3 pointing back at me. So
Yeah.
5 times I didn't fire. I fired 3 of them.
Yeah.
I was such a bad leader. And then I went back and looked, and you're absolutely right. I looked at the first design project, looked back, I was like, I don't even freaking understand this. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my
How are
gosh,
they
like how
gonna do it?
humbling. Oh,
Yeah. And
five
it was
times.
such unrealistic expectations. And it's funny because it's like when we say put it in place early on at any stage of a business, I mean put it in place early on. Like I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. Like invest the time. And even if you hire another person, that is the person that you dictate to and is going to put all these procedures together, then you hire another person to do that. I'm like really not joking. I'm telling you, I had an A player. She's doing really well now. She's at a company that took care of her and was able to manage her properly. And it's super cool to see how well she's doing. I love it. But simultaneously, I'm like, I lost a good team player because
Yeah,
of what I was doing. And
absolutely.
after that, it was like, that's it. The procedures are going in place. Like, I'm not hiring anyone else without making sure that they're so certain on what they're going to do. The meetings are going in place. Like, everything's going in place now because it cost me more time, more money, and more energy trying to keep up with her than
Yeah.
actually just getting everything done in the first place properly. And
And
that goes
I screwed
for,
that up so many times.
again, I just talked to a company who we're with $10 million a year. They're having the same issues that I had with my first employee. And so when I say like pay attention to this, it's like pay attention no matter what stage of your company. And with that company, because the leader's not going to be able to have time to do it. I just sat and asked him, I said, who in your company would have the most fun doing this? Who's really into research? Who's really into looking at all these things? Who's super detailed? Who's your like type A personality? And you could see his brain working and he's like, I got it. And I was like, and who can help them? And he's like, I got it. And I was like, you have a team that could do this for you? And he's like, I do have a team. And I was like, great. Okay, you can delegate this. So even if you're in a larger company and you're like, how am I going to do this? I don't want you to actually do this. I want you to look and think like, who are the people that you have now that would actually have fun implementing something like this? And then
Dude.
just give them a project and give them time. Project and time. We've talked about the time.
I mean, this podcast is called Built for This.
Yep.
Those of you listening are not built for this if you're not picking up on what Carly just talked about. And Carly, you said that we need to be paying attention. And it's true, but I'm gonna one up that a little bit and say that no. I don't need to just be paying attention for this. I need to be recruiting people like Carly Pepin who see it with so much more grace, so much more clarity. There's things that you see about these processes that no matter how much I pay attention, they're going to go right over my head.
I
They're going
know.
to go right beyond what I can do. And so I am in a constant recruiting process with Carly, by the way. So all you know, like, and if I could afford to buy out Carly, I would in a heartbeat. But if I can inspire Carly, right? If I can attract her and help her see, like, man, there's things that we could do together that could be amazing. Like, that's my core responsibility as a CEO of first class business is to find people like Carly who can see things like that and help us create more stabilization. And that's the same thing that all of us need to be doing with our brands. So, Carly, as much as I would love to just pay attention and get it, I still have to get it first. And I said I did that I did the exact same thing you did 5 times in a row. But I've lost more than 20 different team members over the last several years. Now,
Yep.
when we did our retreat in Colombia last May, where we brought the majority of the team together to to an experience, the other people who lived in Colombia, every single one that used to work with us, with the exception of one who we lost contact with, came to that to
Mhm.
see us, and we got to take pictures and we got to talk and hug, and they were still excited and happy. And so I was no longer like ruining relationships. I was still building better relationships. But a lot of the challenge of trying to build a startup is we didn't have the procedures to create sustainability in the beginning. We had to create those. And so all of you entrepreneurs, it's not about beating you up in the process either. It's just recognizing that we've got to continue to optimize. We've got to continue to get better. We've got to get the right people. And if we're trying to do all of the how and
Yeah.
we're not looking at the who could do this faster than us, more effectively than us, right there alongside us. I mean, heck, if I could tell somebody, look, I can use the shovel and move this mountain faster than you can. Well, good for you, but get a second shovel and let the person help you move it. Like, even if they move half the dirt, at least you got
I'm
somebody
gonna
to
get
help,
a
and
snow
you can
blower or like a plow.
same thing, right? Exactly. So I see so many entrepreneurs say, well, I could do this better than who
Yeah,
cares?
who cares
It's
if
not
you can
about
do it
doing it better.
better?
It's about the
Yeah.
abundance of 1 + 1 = 11. You bring the
And
right people together, you
also
can create a compound effect.
find someone who can do it better than you. Genuinely,
Yeah.
find someone who can do better. Like there's people that can do a lot of things better than me out there, and I can delegate to them because there's only a couple things that I'm going to be the best at, and that's it. And if I could put my time and energy and focus there, the more that I could focus on these other things, like
Yeah.
the more, yeah.
Well, and
And
even those who might do it a little worse than me, it's like that's like if it's saving me my
they'll also
time.
learn. They'll also learn
Yeah.
who can train them. That's the person, especially
Correct.
if they want to grow, that turns into like the leader. They come up with the ideas and insights. Like
They end up being
those are
internally grateful to you too because you
yeah.
help them power up. Like there's so much upside to allowing human beings to be awesome.
Yeah. And I think the cool dynamic about this as well you're talking about is it's unrealistic for us at any stage of a business to think that we're going to be able to see everything. And especially like as business owners, and
Oh,
I
geez.
get stuck in this. My mind, I'll be focused on something and I'm really focused on it. And I'm in it and I'm in the zone and I'm like, go, 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 right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, but it's not really getting me the results I want. So I'm still focused on like that one thing. Fortunately, my husband's business consultant as well in our company. So like even recently he gave me feedback and he's like, Carly, like the SEO sucks. He's like, you're doing really well and you're getting all this stuff, but he's like, we gotta fix the XEO. And I'm like, my brain, it just flips because it's like, whoa, it wasn't even in my vision. I wasn't even
Right.
connected to it. But as he says it, all these things start to piece together. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I wasn't focused on that. Okay, okay, let's do that. And then he'll start focusing on that. And he gets caught in things too. And I'll be like,
Right.
you only focus on this. Like, don't forget about this part. And then you see the brain like switch, and it's like, oh my gosh, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, like we get really hyper focused. Part of the reason why we have the outside help is because, like, I have coaches too. I have all my coaches, all my mentors, is because like it gives us that outside perspective when we get those blind spots, which are totally normal. And I think that's the other thing
Correct.
too, is like we're expecting ourselves to be these superheroes and we're not. Like we don't need to be. Like just do your
Correct.
thing, be yourself. We're gonna mess up all the time, like, and then we're just gonna repair it and let's humble ourselves. Sometimes we're complete assholes and sometimes we're
Yeah.
awesome. And we're gonna humble ourselves in those moments too.
I
Like,
can't wait to see you cross the line on that. I've never seen it. So I'm like, oh, I think
oh,
it's cool that it exists. Good.
I'm
Sure.
Italian. I'm Italian, French, Canadian, but I grew up in a very Italian family, which is why I can't stop moving my hands. And I point when I fight, and it makes people crazy, and my tone gets so much louder, and I'm moving and I'm all over the place. And it's like you look, and if you know me and you know the Italian background, you'll be like, "Yeah, she's Italian. Yeah, I see it
Yeah.
now.
I'm
I see
Texan,
it
so
now.
I get it.
Yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah."
Yep.
So yeah, when I get feisty, man, I get feisty. We're fiery.
That's awesome. And I think that's another huge opportunity too for entrepreneurs, guys. We're building passionate visions, right?
Yeah.
We're exercising at max capacity a lot of times. And so naturally we're going to get hangry, right? We're going to get into a sense of conflict. And sometimes we're going to cross the line and we're not going to be healthy with it. Right.
It-
So I think it's so important too that those who are supporting us, we prepare them for that. Like that it's a real thing. And I call like the sales teams, the sales department, that's the lion's den. Right. Gazelles don't belong in the lion's den. If you're not built for that type of environment, you're going to get eaten alive. But lions, guess what? They don't eat each other. They roar at each other, right? They have a different level of fighting to them. But as the hard part of entrepreneurship is, I think a lot of us, in the early stages, we have to learn to kind of be a chameleon and realize that okay, I got to fit in with the gazelles today, and then I can go in the lion's den and throw that down too. But if I think I'll go to Dr. Peter Drucker with the Effective Executive. He talks about how people with tremendous strengths always come with tremendous weaknesses.
100%.
I think that he's speaking about that exact reality that different departments have different needs for different emotions, different styles. Your ER doctor is not going to be nearly as patient or friendly as your general practitioner, for instance. Like there's so many elements of this. And as a society, we
Yeah.
tend to be like, oh my gosh, that person's an evil person or a bad person because they got fiery or because they reacted or because they weren't Jesus in every moment. And as entrepreneurs, I think we need to be wiser to realize like, we're gonna have our mistakes
Yeah.
and we're gonna get over it. We got to forgive ourselves. We got to move forward with being the best that we can. And we got to forgive our team members too. And if we don't, we're gonna end up with super thin relationships.
Yeah. I think it's beautifully said. And it's interesting too, because like back in the days when I had jobs, my two favorite bosses were very fiery. They were very fiery. And what was interesting is they did sometimes go off the handle, but they would come back later and they'd talk about it and they had done some self-reflection and they actually would like connect. And they also required that of me. I occasionally was allowed to go off the handle. And then I had to come back. I had to reflect on it. I had to work things out. And I was like, it was a really humbling dynamic. It was humbling to experience someone do that, but it was also humbling to be required to do that. And it really helped me to understand like that they're not just flying off the handle, and neither was I for like any reason. Like there were genuinely crazy things going on that were incredibly stressful and they just couldn't manage it in that moment. And I realized that there are times when people are going to fly off, but like I actually really loved working with them because they were just human beings. I got to do things, they got to do things, I got to grow, they got to grow. And then we worked all the things out together and we overcame
Yep.
the problem together. And it became like almost like a family dynamic. And it's funny because people, they want the family dynamic in work, but they forget we fight the most with our families. So occasionally it's going to come up. There's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some tension. And how, as leaders, do we manage that? Like, how do we manage ourselves? How do we come back from that? As opposed to like, I can never have a moment. Because the day that like one of them freaked out, they had $1 million stolen from them. And I'm like, okay, I think I'd freak out too. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'd freak out too. The day that you have $1 million stolen, like you really think you're gonna come to the office like all cool and connected, like and emotionally regulated? Like you're not. And so it's also having that understanding, but coming back later and then them being like, yeah, I really overreacted, still freaking out, but like I'm gonna do my best to just emotionally regulate. I'm sorry I had an outburst. Like, let's just figure this out together. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, okay. Like,
Yeah.
let's do this. Yeah. So it's like, what kind of leader would you love to be? And being realistic with like what we're capable of as human beings in some really trying situations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge, and there's all sorts of. I think for me, I'm a fighter. Like fight and flight. I and I trust fighters, right?
Yeah.
Because I can rely on them to come back and throw a punch. Right. At least it doesn't hurt me. That doesn't bother me because I'm a fighter. But the flight people scare me because they're the ones that you don't know when enough is enough and they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And so while the world has become more passive and more peaceful, and there's a lot of good to that, and there's a lot of soft skills we can learn from it, in a workforce environment where things are tense and startups are real, like I'd much rather have a dynamic of fighters who are going to stick with it than
Yeah.
people who might run from the front lines and abandon me when things get really hard. So that's also something to consider for
I love
us
that.
as leaders.
Also, one of my favorite things to do with leadership teams is like work on like how to have like conflict together. Like not to avoid conflict, but like how can we make conflict fun? And then it's
Yeah,
like at the end of the meeting, like we're all conflictual during like the meeting. And then at the end of it, they're high-fiving each other and hugging each other. And it's like, yeah, because it doesn't have to be like a
I
bad
love
thing,
that.
but it's like, how do we have that healthy conflict to bring things forward to the table where it becomes like a healthy thing instead of we have to avoid it? Yeah.
You are such a blessing. That is going to be the topic on our Friday level up, calm down meeting. Very good. Yeah.
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much for coming, Jackson. This is so fun. I feel like we could go on for ages. And I'd love for you to share. I know you showed the website a little bit, but just to lock it in again, where they can find you, where they can find out more information, and your podcast as well, because your podcast is great.
That's huge. That's exactly what I was going to invite all of you to do was visionproslive.com. I'm always looking for great visionary leaders who are helping the world create something better for our people. We got 8 billion people in this world who need help. So when you come on, you share your vision. It's a really cool experience, whether you're just getting started or you're super experienced like Carly. Like I want you to come on. And so visionproslive.com is a button that says be our guest. Click the button, watch the trailer, click to book your calendar appointment, and come and join me on that show because I'll reveal a secret. It's a transformational process. I don't want to work with people that are transactional. I
Mhm.
don't want to work with people who I haven't built a relationship with. And so this gives us an opportunity to see, is this a vision that we love? Is this one that we want to support? Is this a leader who's really kicking butt? And yeah, if you're doing awesome, I want to work with you. Like there's nothing to hide there. It's like, of course you want to work with people who you relate to. But if we just love the vision and we just think it's cool, like, no, it's a great opportunity to just get it out in the world. So come and share it. Tell us about it. And of course, always tune in to Built for This, because if you're an entrepreneur, you've got to have people like Carly by your side.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackson. Again, make sure you go find him. Make sure you go check out his podcast. He's got amazing stuff. And I really appreciate having you on today. Thank you again. This was really wonderful.
Absolutely. Stay blessed, everybody.